So, like, you get some doormen who are, like, very big and hard when it comes to students and stuff, little skinny students. But then if it gets really on top and there's a gang of lads, they go missing. You know, you have to sort of be polite but firm, because if you're too polite, people just try to take advantage of it and think that you're a pushover. You've got to, like, walk a little bit of a line, and you've got to have the right discretion depending on the venue, because obviously a lot of villains might even just think you're a grass, and coppers all think that you're a villain. Viv was out of town. Lee come down. He sucker punched a doorman at that Macy's, and he nearly knocked him out, like sort of nearly dropped him, but didn't. I would say certainly in the job, what I do, he's still talked about, because he was a top man for a very long time. One rumour I heard was that he was perhaps distributing things he shouldn't have been distributing in a bar, and someone who was looking after the bar wasn't happy about it and come and hit him over the head with a hammer and chased him out the bar. Absolutely massive. I mean, I've looked on the photos, and personally I don't think they do him justice for how big he actually is in the flesh. He got ran out of the property. He'd been there a couple of years, but he got, like, completely ran out of the property because all his windows got put out, his, like, shed got burned. Some people who you deal with, there's absolutely no reasoning with them. You can talk to most people.
So today we've got Fergal of the YouTube channel Making Gains. Link will be in the description box below this video if you want to check his stuff out. So we've interviewed many people who were doormen back in the day in Newcastle and the surrounding areas like Hartlepool, Middlesbrough. We've not interviewed an active Newcastle doorman, which is what we've got with Fergal. So we are going to be overlapping with some of the old school stories. Lee Duffy, Viv Graham, Raoul Moat, but putting it in the context of what's going on the doors in the present day. And Fergal's got some revisions to those stories because of what he's heard, and also he's got a lot of information tied in to the classics as well. We've already been talking about Lee Duffy and Viv Graham today, and we've got Jamie Boyle here.
You missed one funny story there.
Pepper Lackey.
He's even got a real life Pepper Lackey story.
So Jamie of Warcry Publishing, his channel link is in the description box as well, has kindly arranged this interview during our 3 or 4 days up in Stokesley near Middlesbrough. All right, so Jamie, how did you come across Fergal's work?
Do you know what? I was a big fan for a couple of reasons. One, he's got a fantastic beard and he's quite handsome. He's very polite, and he's not, you know, he's a boxer, unlicensed boxer, works on the door. I just started watching his channel about a year ago, and I thought, you know what, this guy, he's not like the, you know, like you've seen him, the hillbillies, the kind of the bully, and he has a bit about him. And I just started watching and commenting and that, and he's got a good story, and he literally lives the life of a doorman 6, probably 7 days a week. I was talking to him earlier, and he said at the minute I'm doing something like 55, 60 hours a week on the doors in Newcastle. So for anyone who doesn't know about Newcastle, it's kind of that and Liverpool are like the party capitals. So all the hen do's, all the sag do's go to Newcastle. Loud, drunk, rowdy people, often on substances. So it's this guy's job to kick them out, and I dare say he does earn his money.
Well, before we get into your life story then, Fergal, what does it take to make a good doorman in the modern day?
You've got to, like, walk a little bit of a line, and you've got to have the right discretion depending on the venue, because obviously a lot of villains might even just think you're a grass, and coppers all think that you're a villain. So you kind of have to just toe the line right and deal with things accordingly, you know what I mean?
It's very kind of with mouth these days, isn't it, communication?
I think it's always been like that. If you ask people for what it was like, you have to sort of be polite but firm, because if you're too polite, people just try to take advantage of it and think that you're a pushover.
What's the craziest stuff that you've seen while on the doors?
I've seen a pretty violent stabbing where you could see someone's like bones through the limbs and that. Like,
what was that over?
Well, it was about 3 a.m, and it had been going on for a while. There was an argument where there was just 2 lads down the street, but you know when people's got IBS, invisible barrier syndrome, where they're squaring up, but they don't really want to have a go. I mean, you see that every single week, and everyone was just having a cigarette, laughing like, oh, they don't really want to fight. But about 5 minutes later, one group of the lads come up and stood outside the bar, and I said, listen, lads, you've been arguing, you're not getting in. So they waited. I think they were ordering a taxi, and the other group of lads come back, and then I saw like a bottle of Hennessy in the kid's hand, not cognac. So then I thought this could get a bit tasty. And then he just wrapped it over the kid's head after he started arguing again. Cuts come all over. But the way the bottle formed was just like a knife. And there was like, do you know, this horrible 3-4 seconds. And everyone, I was thinking, he's not, is he? He's not. And then I thought, he is. And he just started sticking him relentlessly, like. And you could hear the like squidgy sounds of it going in. And then there was a lass there, and she was like, she come out, you know, like sometimes how lasses can go hysterical. And he just turned around, big bloke as well, slugged her in the mouth and just booted her to hell on the ground. So that's when I got in, and I was like, whoa, mate, what you doing, man? And then, do you know, like when you just instinctively get into something for a second, the next thing, I was like looking around, I was thinking, wait there, I've got 6 kids round us here. Is he going to... And then I says, yeah, man, like there's cameras everywhere. You're in the city centre. What you playing at, man? Are you mad? You need to get away now. And he just turned around, went up the street, and he got nicked that night. Like,
how big was it? Sorry.
He got over 7 years with the early guilty plea,
How big was this man?
I'd say he was about 15 stone or something, you know, about 6 foot, but he looked like he trained. He had a bit of physique about him, you know.
Bloody hell, what a story, man.
So, you grew up in Newcastle. How did you get into the door scene then? You know, you didn't grow up and think, right, I'm going to be a doorman. Mm-hmm. How did it come about where you think, do you know what, you literally kind of using force every single day?
Well, how I got in the doors was, I'd been boxing. Do you know, like, I used to be an amateur boxer. And funnily enough, like my old coach, a bloke called Steve Cranston, he's one of the best coaches in the North East, a lovely, lovely bloke as well. He used to be Viv Graham's coach. So as a boxer, so he told me a lot of stories about Viv, because he was obviously Viv's coach and Viv's mate as well. Do you know what I mean? So Viv went to him when he'd had like 10 fights, and he had a record of 10-1-8. And then under Steve, he had 20 fights, won 19. And the last one was against Manny Burgo, who I got to know from the boxing scene. And Manny had a lot of doors, and a few people were like, oh, why don't you work for Manny? So I just thought, all right, I got a badge and stuff, and then I still haven't worked for Manny to this day.
So Newcastle is the home of Viv Graham. Let me think. So he's been gone 29 years. You're 30 now.
Yeah.
So am I right in saying it's kind of, you grow up in these mythical folklore, Loch Ness Monster, Robin Hood in Nottingham, and in Newcastle, Tyneside, you're growing up hearing stories of Viv Graham. What's it like today? Still, does his legacy still live on?
I would say certainly in the job, what I do, he's still talked about, because he was a top man for a very long time when like in my job sector, and obviously a lot of people I've worked with who are a little bit older have worked with Viv before, so
and you work in the big market, which is obviously, of course,
I don't work in the big market.
Right, but you have done.
I have, yeah.
And obviously that was the place where it's in folklore now that Lee Duffy turned up, flattened a couple of the bouncers. Does that ever get spoken of?
Aye, well, I asked Viv's former business partner, who was a good friend of Viv's, the other day about that, funnily enough. And he told me that the story he said was Viv was out of town, Lee come down, he says it was only once that he came down, and that he sucker punched a doorman at that Macy's, and he nearly knocked him out, like sort of nearly dropped him but didn't. And then he says about 7 or 8 other doormen come out and Lee Duffy just backed off. That was his version, but you know, as they say, there's 3 sides to every story, yours, mine and the truth. So.
I'm sorry, what is the big market?
The big market's just like a strip of nightclubs and that, like where it's like, it's a street and there's probably like about 12 or 13
like the Irish part
bars
of
and nightclubs.
Liverpool.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's where head nights, stag do's,
Yeah.
all the mad things
The
happen.
strip.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's been a lot of characters around Newcastle over the years. Raoul Moat recently. What was that, 12 years ago? Do you ever have any communications with Raoul?
No, I never knew Raoul Moat personally. I mean, obviously, you hear a lot of things because loads of lads I've worked with. Like,
Well, Gary
worked with
Fairby
Raoul.
worked with him.
Yeah, and I mean, I heard that, like, let's just say that one rumour I heard was that he was perhaps distributing things he shouldn't have been distributing in a bar, and someone who was looking after the bar wasn't happy about it and come and hit him over the head with a hammer and chased him out the bar. And when he was on his rampage, they tried to shut all the bars that person looked after because he was on his hit list.
Was
the
he?
bloke who'd done that? Aye. So when he was, where was it when he was down at
Was it Wickham? Oh no, Roughbury.
Roughbury? Aye.
Yeah.
They kind of they wanted to shut that bar down and stuff.
Yeah. So how did you come across Purple Lucky then, of all people? Very. Was Wildman really familiar with Purple Lucky?
Yes.
So when Wildman was a kid, and he was just starting trouble on the streets with people, like we lived near the top of town, so we had all the townies after him, like gangs of them, like older lads. And Purple Aki around that, when Wildman was that age, would come around in a car looking for people, and Wildman would get in his car, with him and show him around and stuff. And my other mates, like Wildman's cousin Hammy, my mate Whitty, who's also dead now. I was studying on the nights Aki came and like approached my mates and started squeezing the muscles and having them do squatting on the back and stuff. But one of the stories they told me was when I don't know what Wildman had done to piss Purple Aki off, but Aki made Wildman go and stand in Birchfield Gardens Pond. Bear in mind, Wildman was just a little kid at this point. We were all older than him, and Aki was way older. But then Aki and Wildman became friends somehow. And that's why when I think who was it we were on with? We were on with someone, and Wildman like gave a shout out to Aki to come on.
Did he?
The podcast. He said, "Yeah, why
That would have been good.
Did he squeeze your muscles?
So where did you meet him?
I was on Dean Street with
That Newcastle.
Yeah, I was working at Take a Hill. Do you know what I mean? So was this bloke walking down the hill, absolutely massive. I mean, I've looked on the photos and personally, I don't think they do him justice for how big he actually is in the flesh. And he was walking down and just like I seen him, and he was like sort of staring at us, and I was like, I just went like, "You all right?" sort of thing, and he was like, "Look like that," because like I knew his face, but I didn't know where from. Do you know what I mean?
Your body type's right up his street as well.
Did you have his legendary carrier bag on him?
I don't think he did.
So what happened then? You got talking?
So, no, he just like he walked down the hill, and I can say like the kid I was on with was like saying, "Who's that again?" Do you know? Because like he must have knew him as well. And I was just seeing, I didn't know, I know him though. And then he come back up the hill about 2-3 minutes later. And when he come back up, he went, "You all right, lads," like that. And then we're going, "Who?" And then my mate went, "Fuck me, it's Purple Aki," like that. And he went up the hill, so we were telling all the lads, like, you know, Purple Aki's about and all that. And we were seeing that, we're seeing him. And some people were like, "Oh, you're full of shit," and all that. But the next week, he was in the town as well, and people were getting videos of him stuff. It was like a Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the abominable
say.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Apparently, he did squeeze 1 or 2 people's muscles like when the following week. But
So that was his thing, wasn't
Yes.
it? Squeezing muscles. Because we interviewed. Oh, it was Jeff Ollerhead. That was it.
Is that the guy who sang the song?
Yeah, he was in Liverpool prison
Yeah.
with Aki, and he said to Aki, "You know, are you gay?" And he's like, "No," and he's like, "Well, why don't you just get a job as a masseur?
yeah.
You know, and then you can just feel people's muscles all day long and do it in a legitimate way." And I think it was French. He said that Aki wasn't gay, he just likes the muscular aesthetic. But my mate said that when he was jumping on the backs, he was getting so.
Oh dear, that's not good, is it?
No,
So another
no.
one of Sean's guests you work with. I mean, I know him well because I've done his book. Is the Wild Man? Not the Wild Man. The Duke of Windy Nook, aka Gary Furby.
Yeah.
What's it like working with Gary Furby then?
It's
Any funny stories?
Oh, there's a lot. I tell you what, like, I'll just say this: there's definitely things that's happened over the last week or so. If he's bringing another book out, there's things that would be getting put it that way. You know what I mean?
So who's this man?
Gary
Gary,
Furby.
yeah.
He's kind of, is he bare knuckle champion or something like that? Is he?
Yeah,
The governor or something?
like he's just like sort of like a face in the town, really. Like he's had about you've done a book on him, haven't you?
I
Did
mean,
he beat Decker in a fight a while ago?
He knocked Decker out in about 10 seconds.
he was just a name to me. I mean, Gary's my age, and so we should have kind of grew up. I mean, me and Gary have actually boxed people the same, but I can't ever remember Gary Furby. And then he was a name on the poster, and I think it was Steve Rave said, "You want to do his book? He's a legend, him." And the more I delved into him, he just kind of had gums. There's a saying in boxing for like a journeyman: "Have gum shield, will travel." And Gary's just literally travelled the length of Great Britain, win, lose or draw, just fighting absolutely everyone.
And the book's called The Duke.
I mean, me
of
and Gary were
Windy
meant to
Nook.
fight at one point
Duke of Windy Nook.
before we knew each other.
What's he like as a doorman then? Is
But
he?
it never come off him.
Because he's quite bolshy and.
Ah, yeah, he's great. He's a good laugh, you know, like he's
But he's
good
one of the
laugh.
lads. He's not a bully.
I mean, that's the thing. So, like, you get some doormen who are, like, very big and hard when it comes to students and stuff, little skinny students. But then if it gets really on top and there's a gang of lads, they go missing. Do you know what I mean? So,
What's
Gary's
it
the
like-
opposite of that.
What's it like working with a bully? You know, when you see them and they put that badge on, and they turn to like Mario when he's had his mushroom, and they're just like, you know, because I have come across them. Have you ever come across them?
Aye. I told a lad the other night, do you know what I mean? Just, he was getting a bit out of hand. I says, "Yeah, calm down, man. Do you know, I think some people are a little bit insecure and they've got like a point to prove, haven't they?"
So what age did you get into the doors?
I was 21. When first shift was Newcastle versus Sunderland in the big market.
Oh, shit.
Derby Day.
Was it as bad as what they make out? Punching horses and all that?
I'm sure the place I work got shut down because it all got smashed up.
Really?
Because Newcastle got beat. It was the one after someone punched the horse. Do you remember that one? And
Yeah.
I don't think the fans took it any better that time either.
So, boxing, I mean, how did you kind of fall into that then?
Well, just I've always liked boxing, so I boxed a long time, and then probably some of my more notable fights were like probably in the unlicensed scene, you know.
Do you ever fight anyone more notable figures, well known?
Well, I guess probably like someone who was like a bare knuckle champion and stuff is Michael Ferry.
Yeah, I know him.
And
Your viewers will know who he is.
yeah, I'm sure he's at Chloe Ferry's cousin or something on Geordie Shore. But obviously he's a big name from where I'm from, and you know, like I tried to knock him out, like, but you know, it was a good fight. You know, it was a close fight, went all the way. he won on points, and you know, that's
So
Yeah, so all right. So whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Newcastle, mate.
What part?
The East End of Newcastle.
So the East End of Newcastle. That's where the Sayers family were, isn't it?
No, they're the West End.
Aye.
Oh, West End, other end,
Uh-huh.
other end.
I mean, I'll be honest, like, never really, like, haven't had any run-ins with the Sayers, just only heard, like, people I know say sort of nice things. I know
Yeah, we've had Stephen on.
that was a funny one, that it was good.
Yeah.
It was
But
hilarious.
growing up in Newcastle, is the name, you know, is it something you just can't avoid? Because obviously you've had Alan Thompson on, you've had lots of guests, and it's like, you know, if you Google, you know, I like Stephen and Michael, by the way, so after watching this, but if you Google gangster Newcastle, they are the first image that comes up. That's just a fact. So what's it like kind of growing up? Is it just this name that you hear of before you actually understand what it's about?
Well, just like, to be fair, like, obviously, I think the names get through about sometimes at the doors. We're going to get this, we're on to you. 99% of people who do that don't know them. The only person in the family I really know, like, to say hello to all the time, is Tony.
Oh, I
Sayers.
met him.
And
So he's the kind
just
of Italian-looking one, the good-looking one, very smart.
He's a gentleman, really nice bloke. And years ago, I think I spotted Stephen's son, who's professional now, and he was a tank, really strong kid. You know what I mean? Aye.
So growing up in that part, and like as a kid, what was your life like?
It was all right, mate. Aye, sound.
Were you always massive?
For my age, probably. Aye.
Was you?
Yeah.
So do you have any siblings?
Yeah. Got a couple of. Got a big brother. Aye.
Yeah. Did he look after you?
Yeah.
So obviously doing what you're doing for a living in Newcastle, does it ever get to a point where you get home and you're covered in blood and ripped shirts and you just think, do you know what, I'm going to look for a job tomorrow?
Oh, aye. I've had, like, I remember one weekend when it was the Black Eye Friday and the Derby Day in the same weekend, and out of 3 nights, my shirt was covered in blood off 2 nights. Aye.
Can you run down what happened?
Just off, like, people having massive brawls, but going, like, and you're getting in the middle of it and there's blood everywhere. But going back to, like, what I said earlier, where, like, sometimes, like, police sort of all think we're all villains, and villains may all think you're like a grass. It's like, it's a hard one, because you have people who put it on your toes sometimes at work, and then you get them out and they could attack you, and if you defend yourself, you're looking at a charge. I know a few door lads who've ended up in prison, you know what I mean? And last year, when it was like the lockdown thing where everyone was seated, I could have easily ended up in prison if it wasn't for the fact that there was 12 off-duty coppers on 2 tables of 6 who witnessed the whole incident, you know what I mean? Because I got attacked and I really couldn't. The bloke was bigger than me, and he ended up getting a fractured eye socket, which, like, was regrettable and, like, totally not wanted. But, you know, if it wasn't for all those, like, off-duty police being there, I would have been screwed, really. Like,
Sorry, what was the circumstances behind that?
there was just a bloke working himself, and he, like, do you know how it was the seated thing, and you were given an allotted time slot during the sort of half lockdown phase. He was just like, he'd been in all day just refusing to leave, and someone else had the table booked. So, you know, I was just sort of politely said it's time to go, sort of thing. And it was like a family sort of venue as well, so there was kids about, and he was shouting and swearing, saying he was going to pull my eye out, all this. So after about 10 minutes, you can see on camera, I'm sort of like that. Eventually, I had to like get him out, and then when I was getting him out, he started punching us and stuff. So eventually outside, I ended up giving him one back, and unfortunately, he got injured.
Because you've got to be careful, because not only do you risk the fact that you could break the law, you lose your job. Your SIA licence will be gone like that.
That's it, right.
So to get, you said you got him out. He's threatened to pull your eye out and all that.
Yeah.
Do you have to approach him cautiously to get him out? How do you get him out?
Oh, well, I mean, you try and just be polite with everyone, don't you? But, like, some people who you deal with, there's absolutely no reasoning with them. You can talk to most people, but, like, some people, it depends on if they're on drugs or if they're this or that.
There are a lot of people on drugs in Newcastle.
Well, I would say that, like, a lot of venues, you see people coming in and their hands are like that and all the rest of it, aye. So
Did you physically get him out then?
Well, I had to, but to be fair, and this was even said in the whole situation, was like, I said that I felt he was going to attack me. It went on for about 10 minutes. He'd like took steps towards me a few times. And if it's going to happen, you want it to happen away from everyone else. So it's not like a situation where somebody else could get like hurting. I mean, one of my friends, he lost, this was the first time in history this ever happened. He lost his badge for 5 years without a criminal conviction.
Wow.
Because of a viral video. So my mate is he's like a pro cage fighter. And this kid, from what I heard, he'd smashed a bottle off him. He'd been doing this and that. He'd come back 3 times for a fight. And then my mate comes out and he'd done like an MMA move where he's flipped him, he's landed on his head and it knocked him out. And the video got about 1 million views on YouTube. So the kid was supposed to be a bit of a raji and just wanted it left at that. Apparently when he got up, he shook his hand and walked away. But because it went so viral and it looked bad, he lost his...
Who videoed it?
I don't know who. I think it was a member of the public who videoed it. Aye.
So in a case like that then, is it the police that pushes the prosecution, not the person who got...
He wasn't prosecuted. It was... the SIA is like a private sort of thing. So obviously when you're talking about like sort of figures like Viv Graham, from that era, there was no SIA around then. But now it's like a sort of government like regulatory body thing.
Can I ask you, Fergal? So obviously you're doing your job out there daily, but how much is it in your head where you've got to behave because, hang on a minute, people will be like constant every move?
Aye, yeah.
Have you had that against you where people have filmed you and that? And
like when you're at work, you shouldn't really do or see anything that you wouldn't be like comfortable with defending in court. Really, like.
Do you have to get trained up in that then?
Eh?
Do you have to get trained up in the law?
It's a week's course.
That's when you do it. Like you kind of like really when they talk about training, it's just the legal do's and don'ts. Like,
Do you find that restricts your performance when you do have to deal with someone?
I suppose it can at times, perhaps. I mean, like, but obviously you try to be professional anyways. But I would say that like you're fighting a losing battle with how it's all set up and how the police treat Doorman and stuff like that. 1,000,000%.
You rang me a month or two back and you went, Jamie, I'm with the boxer Paul Smith. So, because you work in top clubs, do you see a lot of the stars and a lot of kind of famous people?
Yeah.
And can you mention any, or is any funny stories? Are you used to seeing a lot of these stars?
I'll say this, right? There was one, I'll not name him because I didn't want to get sued or nothing, but there was a high-profile former world champion boxer, and I was at a bar and he dropped a massive bag of cocaine. It was absolutely huge, and one of a waitress picked it up because she probably had a bit of a habit, and he come back to his seat, this boxer, and he must have realised that his bag was missing, and he absolutely shit himself, and he took his whole entourage out the bar immediately because he was like, I think he's already had a little bit of scandal surrounding him, so he was like, I'm out of here, like, you know what I mean?
Women, do they literally throw themselves at you? Is it, people often talk about Newcastle, well, it's in Geordie Shore and all that, but is it as...
I can give you one now, right? And I'll not name names of venues, but a couple of strip clubs like that used to be around when I started. The doors are closed now, and I've worked in them. And of working in strip clubs and women and stuff, I fell into that trap. And I ended up having a massive conspiracy against us, and had like a investigation for firearms against us and stuff like that.
Because of a woman?
Because of me.
Oh, that was quite recently, wasn't it?
No, that was about 2018.
Was it?
So what happened was I was seeing a stripper. I'd been with her for a while. It was probably about a year. But then suddenly she was like asking us to leave where I worked, right? And I found that strange. And I'd been there before.
Why were you not asking her to leave where she works?
And I was like, well, no, you can leave. And she was like, well, it'll make us stronger and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what you call it? So, and like, she used to have it in my head because I hadn't let her in mine for a while, and she could smell cannabis on us that I was growing a crop in mine, and she kept asking what would happen if one of your neighbours rang the police and said you were doing a grow. And I says, what? Like, that's a... But you had it, and I was like, do you actually think I'm doing a grow on that? And she was like, aye. And I says, well, nothing would happen. Do you know what I mean? I was like, someone can't just ring the police and say, like, oh, you're doing a grow. Do you know what I mean? And get your door kicked in. I says, otherwise everyone's door would be getting kicked in. And then I remember saying, but I says, like, because the conversation went on a while, I says, well, if someone rang up and said I had a firearm and I was going to shoot someone, I says, my door would get kicked in. So,
you gave her the keys to the castle there.
Oh, I did. Yeah. But I didn't realise that she was playing us, you know what I mean? So what happened was it was about 6 weeks later, and the sort of wind-ups we play on each other on the doors is unreal. So anyways, one of the lads from another bar was walking past where I worked, and he says, what's all this about you shooting such and such as mate? And I says, like, I beg your pardon? Do you know what I mean? And then, like, he'd mentioned a DJ who works at a different venue at the town, so I rang him up, and I was like, what the F are you talking about, you idiot? He says, you're going to get me door kicked in, man. So then he was saying, no, my mate thinks you're going to shoot his mate, right? And I rang him up, and he was like saying, basically what it was, this kid had a door company, and the police had been in with me face and me name and that, like a photo of us, and they'd said that, I was going to do a shooting at that venue on that date. And I was like, I had to ring everybody up about 5 times. I was like, are you all taking the piss out of me here? Because I'm going to ring the police myself here to find out what's going on, you know what I mean? So, like, let us know before I do you know? And everyone was like, no, we're deadly serious. So I rang the police myself, like that 101, and then they got back to us, and I says, oh, well, it was some CID wifey. I says, I think it's a joke, but I've heard I'm under investigation for like a firearms thing. And she was like, yes, you're correct, Mr. Allenby. And I says, what, like, so I'm correct, it is a joke. And she says, no, you're correct, you are under investigation. And that was like a really stressful couple of weeks, I'll just say that. Like.
So did they come and get you then?
They come and looked through my house, the CID, and they looked through my mother's house. And then what happened is I ended up working out that it was her, binned her off. And
why did she do it though?
Well, what had happened is I'd worked out after I binned her off, right, that around the time she'd been concocting this plan is like, long story short, you hear things, she'd been cheating on us, you know what I mean? So obviously she was trying to get us out the picture, right? And then that was another one of me notable, say, scuffles on the door, because a few months later, she sent this big bodybuilder down to set about us, and let's just say he was minus a few teeth and had a lot of blood on his face, and tried to get me nicked as well. And then...
So
why did she not just finish it?
I don't know.
Drama,
like, that's you'd have to ask her that. Yeah. I mean, the last, I don't know if you included on this, has appeared on Philip Schofield a couple of months ago. Her and her sister, twins, spend 150 grand to look the same or something. So anyone who watched that there's a story about her.
She's a
And
twin.
it's 100%. Aye, she's a twin. Aye, and they're both strippers.
So
Dolly and Daisy, and that's not the real names, guys.
So if she sets this in motion with the cops then, and the cops investigate it, and it's obvious she's lied,
What I said, mate, right?
doesn't it go back on her then?
I turned around, right? Do you know, like after all this, because it was hell, mind. It was hell, right? And I said, right? So I says, listen, this has been proven to be an absolute load of bollocks. You know, like I says, are we gonna now find out who's made all this up, which I'm sure you can easily do, and are they getting nicked and saying, and the CID wife, he said, she just turned around and said, well, I don't think we'll ever find that out, will we?
Because surely it's perverting the course of justice.
It is. It's wasting police time as well. But
Money and everything.
you know what I mean? And it's surely got to come under some sort of like harassment or something as well, hasn't it? You know what I mean? But
Did you have more concrete proof that she'd done it?
I don't. But I mean, what do you
it's
think?
obvious,
You know, but I will say this is when it like dawned on us, right? Was the same lass done a proper deliberate attempt to like set us up to get us to lose my job. Do you
So
know
it
what I
wasn't
mean?
just the firearms, it wasn't just a bodybuilder, we're now on to losing your job.
Well, that's like, I think she just wanted us to lose my job or something, like, so she could be cheating on us and I wouldn't know what was going on in the town or something.
So what did she do to do that?
Well, obviously get us to lose my badge because she thought I was doing a grow. But there's been a few little conspiracies she tried to make up as well, do you know what I mean?
So Newcastle,
It's just a bit of a bread and butter, basically.
Newcastle people, Geordies, warm, friendly people. They play hard, they fight hard, they drink hard. They, you know, what's it like in the bars? Is it literally mental? As you know,
Hell.
Not Is that what it's like? Non-stop.
If you're a Doorman, aye.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, you have like a lot of funny sort of characters, and they can do your head in. And I've got a bit of a funny story here. So there's this bloke I used to work with, and he was a bit of a horrible bloke, to be honest with you, right? But obviously, I think the job for doing it so long turned him evil. You know what I mean? And he used to look up what foods would make his fart smell the worst.
Oh my God.
You know, so he could fart, and it was one of them. It was so bad it would go down your throat, right?
Why would someone do something
Oh,
like that?
I don't know. And he used to send you like photos of his like
Shit.
toilets, his number twos, and they were all oily and stuff, right?
Oily?
And,
One of my exes used to do that. Yeah, an ex.
aye,
Yeah.
might be the same guy. Who
Probably.
knows? And, anyways, he had a. Have you seen like a Hull can before of Step Brothers? Because he hated like, you know, stag do's and stuff. And I tell you what, he's one of them. He was so switched on, he could almost read your mind. This bloke, you know what I mean? And he just knew what people were doing, all that, right? So he got a Hull can and he put it in the cupboard at this bar and kept it for ages, and I didn't know what he was doing. Then on a bank holiday, he took it in the toilets, right? Spent hours, like. So he'd shit in this Hull can, but perfectly tucked it all in. And he put it over the street and just stood like that. And he goes, watch Fergal, lad, like curry to a pisshead. And about an hour later, there's someone from a stag do comes and squidges it on. He's gone to his pals, punching all his pals. And then when he takes it off, he had his night ruined, didn't he? You know what I mean?
What kind of customers are the worst? So you get the old blokes, the alcoholics, the rowdy girls. Is it, you know, the young lads who think the 10 men?
Everyone has different challenges, and there's like, as they say, there's
You
more
must
than
see a
one.
lot of different characters.
Oh, you're doing, like I say, so like, if you've got a lad who fancies a celibate and is posturing, you deal with that differently to say
The womanizer.
a Karen. Do you know what I mean?
A coward.
Because you have Karens, and you have to like, there's a way you have to speak to them. Do you know what I mean? And that you have like sort of thugs and all the rest of it, and
Football hooligans. And that.
you have to approach everybody in a
Can you do a
different.
demo? Can Jen pretend to be a Karen?
Oh, I've just got to be quite boring, I guess. Right.
Well, just say.
Hi. So you're going to ID me or something, and I haven't got my ID.
Well, see, I would say what would happen. Just say, it would be like just say you're with someone who's underage or something, like,
Yeah.
or maybe he's 23 and hasn't got an ID,
Right.
and then I'd say, "How you got ID?" And she's all right. She's with me. She's 23, and then I'm really sorry, but you're like, and you just have to play that game and go down that route with it, like.
And did they ever kick off?
All the time. But with Karens, you just have to refer it to the manager.
What's a Karen?
It's like, oh, it's someone you want to
Someone
roll
who's,
your
like,
eyes at.
complaining about everything.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never heard
The
this.
busybody
Yeah.
kind of
Everyone's like the
complaining.
Karen. I'm
That
thinking.
curtain twitcher.
Right,
You
okay.
know, on the neighbourhood.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about like coach parties of pissheads?
Just went out the door, I just got no. Unless you're at a place where it needs them. Do you know what I mean?
What about wild
Because
man?
it's dead.
Aye, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've got to let them in, haven't you? You know what I mean? But
Or
so it's-
Jamie, sorry.
every bar has different challenges, I suppose. You know what I mean?
So you just asked about Wild Man. What
What
about Wild
about
Man's?
what about if wild man come for your door and you've no shoes on? Do you know?
High on crack.
So some of
I just walk in the office and see I was quitting.
we were talking about a story last night, and I've never heard this. And obviously, I'm possibly considering doing Wild Man's book next year. And basically, the story I heard last night was about the wild man breaking his arm. So he was a young lad, and he went over to these lads and said, "Lads, will you do me a favour? Will you break my arm?" So they went over this cemetery, and they were all kicking it. Wouldn't work. How did it work in the end?
So it's in the podcast Wild Man and Purple Aki Stories with Wild Man's cousin Hammy, and he went to there was a soccer hooligan pub, and he was only a teenager, so they took him over to the cemetery.
Football.
So they had his arm on a slab, like on a gravestone. They were trying.
Why was he wanting to break his arm?
I'll tell you in a minute. It's an amazing story.
They were trying various methods to break it, and in the end, they got something and just they had the crack.
Was it a hammer?
It might have been, or some kind of instrument, and then Wild Man.
No, you've just so his arm cracked. Wildman picked his arm up and went, "Thanks, lads." To God.
And then he went on his way, and there was a crack in the road that he'd already pre-screened, and he threw himself over it because he felt like he could just put a compensation claim in.
Aye.
And as he threw himself over the crack near the railway station, he heard a guy shout, "Hey, you, what are you doing? Stop there!" And it was a cop. And the reason he ended up getting the compensation was the cop had witnessed the fall.
No. Aye.
So, but that's the kind of thing.
But he just
Wildman.
spent it all the next day on beer.
It was like it was like normal for him to go out and do something so radio rental, which is rhyme and slang for something mental.
Outrageous.
You know, I mean, my favourite story of Wildman, but just briefly, is when he went missing for 3 days and then he'd come home with no shoes, and he didn't know where he'd been because he'd been on crystal meth. That was the kind of
He'd
thing.
wake up in a house on the south side of Phoenix, and they'd call the cops. And he'd even been in the jail or the hospital because of his heart. He's walking around in 50-degree heat.
But Sean would go to work, he'd come home, and there'd be like pimps and prostitutes, and
He brought a pimp to the office with like a purple top hat on and golf shoes.
What a
and
proper cane walking.
cane walk, yeah. And he's
I'd
like,
love to meet one of them, me. Like.
So, I mean, tonight you're at work. What will tonight's routine be then? So you go home, obviously, because you finished work last night, 4 o'clock. So what will tonight be about? How will you get to work, and what lays ahead?
Well, we'll see. It's probably like, I wouldn't want to talk too much at the minute, but it's probably a bit of a tense situation in the town. There's been a little bit of trouble, like, you know what I mean?
that rival factions.
Aye, like I've even heard that there's been Osman warnings getting sent out with people that I'm like friends with and that now. But it's I don't want to get into it, but like in a few years I think it'll get all. Do you know what I mean? Come out in the wash.
Have you had
now.
guns pulled on you?
I have had a gun pulled on us before. Aye.
What was the story behind that?
That wasn't when I was at work, so that was just I was walking through. I was walking through the street in the daylight, a main road. It was broad daylight in a nice area, and this bloke was like eyeing us up, and he was just like eyeing us up, and I was like, "You all right, mate?" And he says, "Are you all right?" And he started following us. Do you know what I mean? Then him and his mate, and like turn around, he started like I was like, "Are you following us or something?" Like, and his mate just pulled a shooter on us, you know what I mean? But loads of people saw it.
Was it to mug you?
Eh?
To mug you?
No, I don't know.
Mistaken identity, you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. Like,
He got jailed though, didn't he?
Did I? Got jail. Got about 3 years in jail or something like that.
This podcast is sponsored by Harry's. Harry's is way more than a super sharp razor company. They're here to revamp your whole routine, from close shaves and flake-free hair, all the way to clear, healthy skin. Harry's helps guys feel great. For this sponsorship, Harry's is offering a free travel-sized shower gel with a trial set to you, the viewers, to give you a chance to try their other products as well as shave. Please make sure to support this podcast and give your own shower shave a go by redeeming a free Harry's trial set. All you cover is £3.95 for delivery. Just head to harrys.com/Sean, SHAUN, to have your set delivered and start a shave plan. Your freebie will be added at checkout. That's harrys.com/Sean, SHAUN. Thank you for supporting Harry's. Link is in the description box below this video.
Can I ask you a question? Why are Newcastle people so aggressive? Why are they so like...
You know what? I wouldn't say like Newcastle people are necessarily aggressive, right? It's a nice place. There's a lot of nice people, and loads of people who come up on the drinks here. They've had a great time, and people are so friendly up there. I think what it is it's just a very busy city centre environment where loads of people are just, you know, coming from all over the place to get on it and go mental, and that's why like. It brings out the worst in people on a night time.
I mean, to be honest, the Newcastle nightlife is really, it's second. It's up there with Liverpool. It really is. The bars, you're talking about dozens of bars, aren't you? The variety in Newcastle, if you want to go mental.
Well, the first pub we went to, we couldn't get over how friendly they were. We were like, people are so friendly in Newcastle.
But
everywhere we went.
I'm talking about the bars that kind of like open at 9, 10 o'clock and still open at 4 in the morning.
Speaking of variety, right? And Gary Furby can tell you this, right, recently. So we were all out, and there was these kids asking, do you know any whorehouses open at this time? So one of the lads sent them up to, a venue that's meant to be, I'll not name it, but it's meant to be a gay brothel. But obviously they weren't a new.
Sauna.
A sauna. That's in the name of it, sauna, right? So he sent them up there, right? And they come back the next day and they were going, you cunts, like, we went up there last night, he says, me pal got locked in a room and a fat bloke with nipple rings tried to rape him. I was like, oh, and Gary's like, we're never sending anyone there again.
But on the subject of that, Newcastle does have a massive kind of gay... Like
gay village.
There's like a gay triangle thing. I mean, I've never worked in that.
I mean, Gary Fairby's worked it.
I've never worked in that.
It's supposed to be unbelievable nights out. You know,
that's what we in Wildman, before the raves, we went to Manchester's gay village.
Right.
That's
what was that
off
like?
by the canal, all the little bars and pubs there. They always had the best music.
Yeah.
Before anyone else.
I was Wildman with that. Was he all right?
I loved it. Yeah. Wildman, the parties we had in America. He would just take over control of all the street people coming in. He'd have trans, he'd have drag queens, he'd have transvestites, he'd have gangbangers, mafia characters, Mexican mafia, and everyone just a total contrast, all just mixing up. He loved it.
You would have wanted one of those parties, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what injuries have you sustained being a doorman?
Well, I've hurt my knuckles a few times, like, but that's a last resort. But no, I've been like sucker punched a few times and stuff. Yeah. I mean, the other week on bank holiday, I was working at a place and we were completely polite to some kid and just told him that like the venue was closed, and this kid just turned around and full on sucker punched my mate in the face, then racially abused him. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I straight away cracked him in the jaw as soon as he hit me mate, because he was a big bloke. I didn't know if he was going to hit me or hit him again, and he would have knocked him out again. If you see the footage, he was out on his feet. Well, like,
Oh, I've seen that. You sent me it.
so
Yeah.
what happened is
I mean,
basically the
Is
kid.
that something we can include in the
I was
video?
just going to say, that's what I was just going to say.
Oh, can't
No.
say.
Still.
Oh, right, okay.
Aye,
okay.
so basically, right, and I understand, personally, I wouldn't have went down it, like, the legal way, but the kid who he sucker punched is just a perfectly nice, gentleman, law-abiding
Yeah,
kid.
it was out of nowhere.
Aye, well,
and then you did not follow up.
Yeah,
I was
aye.
like, wow.
but, like, the kid I work with is getting him nicked now, because we found out who he was and everything, because
Yeah.
he was showing off about it in the gym up the street, and it turns out he's a fireman, so he's losing his job and all that, like, so serves him right, you know
It was
what I
just
mean?
total
Says
random.
right.
It would just come from nowhere.
Aye.
And you reacted, to
Aye.
your credit, really, really quickly.
Uh-huh.
Because you sent me it and I was like, whoa.
Was it
what's
because he
that?
was wasted or something?
It just,
wasn't
obviously,
wasted, it
there was
was
no
just like
sound to
wasted.
it. There was no sound to it, but you see it, it was just like, he just punches him for no reason.
Do you know, like, at the time, it was like out of nowhere, but you can see when you watch it back, he's putting his phone in his, like, you know, getting ready to do it all and everything, you know what I mean? Like,
Is that a sport for some people then, just knocking out the doorman?
well,
It was
definitely,
for Lee
aye.
Duffy.
Aye, the first thing that come to my head, aye, definitely.
Have you met that kind where they're like,
Well, I heard a couple of months ago, it was on what you call them, student societies or whatever. There was one of them student societies, and they had it on the list, you know, like the things to do on the night.
yeah.
And one of them was to knock out a doorman. So that got on the internet, and apparently that kid got kicked out of his uni for that. But that's what you're up against. And then when you kind of like, this is how you have to have that filter where, like, you have to, like, deal with the violence, but at the same time be like a concierge, or, like,
Yeah.
you know, like nice people and stuff like that. You have to, like, do both. And aye, yeah.
Another part of Newcastle's kind of culture, if you like, is football. Now, I know you're not the biggest football fan, but to really appreciate the city of Newcastle, it is huge, isn't it?
Oh, aye,
It's
aye.
like, you know, it's you're black and white, and that's that. Even if you don't particularly like football, it's bred into it at a young age. You know, I think they're the best supporters in England. Why is that? Why do Newcastle people, why are they so full on football?
I don't know. It's because, like, I suppose football's always been a working class sport. It's a working class town, and I guess it just, like, you know, there's probably for a long time there wasn't much else happening, was there? You know.
So you have to deal with hooligans then?
Aye, yeah. You
How
have to,
bad's that in your city?
not like as bad as, like, what other cities.
But when
probably are.
Sunderland come or Middlesbrough come,
Well, when the derbies were on, that used to be a challenge, like, with all the derbies. It was, do you know what, like, I'll be honest, like, football fans put us off football, if I'm honest with you, because it's like the sort of kids, when there's a load of them, they really, really work themselves, but they're just, like, are you seeing those videos where they're bouncing forward, like that? and back? They're
embarrassing.
just like that, aye.
Jen?
Sorry, what have I missed?
So-
on about the football hooligans.
the
dealing with
Newcastle
football
culture,
hooligans.
it's such a big part of, you know, Ray Morton, who we had yesterday, so he's a Geordie,
Yeah.
Gary Fairby, Alan Thompson, Steve Rafe. So I've done so many Newcastle books lately. I'm surprised I'm not seeing. You look at my pint, like, do you know what I mean? But
Was it like proper Green Street back then?
No, like, I've never seen any, like football hooligan wise. I haven't seen, like, nothing too bad, like.
No.
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 What's the worst thing you've ever seen?
I'd probably, like, go back to that stabbing, what I was talking
Stabbing
about
one,
before, like,
yeah.
Bottle.
in terms of, like, I'd probably say that.
What was
like.
second to that then?
Probably that with a glove. No,
Oh,
like,
yeah. So how do you control a woman under these circumstances? So a woman comes in,
you
she's
can't
kicking
touch
off.
her, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like-
and she's
Yeah.
like proper scrapping. Going
Sometimes
for you.
you've got to touch a woman, but you've obviously just got to, like, be careful where you put your hands. You know what I mean?
what the thing they do is they do a middle where they take the high heels off. Have you had that where they've tried to attack you?
Yeah.
I've had all sorts where women just, like, punch
just
you and
normal,
stuff.
isn't
it?
Aye, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What do you do under these circumstances? The woman's going nuts.
I mean, like you just kind of have to just restrain them eventually, like, if you're getting attacked, like, aye.
Are some on so much drugs they've, like, got, like, super strength? Or they don't
Aye.
feel pain?
Yes,
They don't
yes.
feel
That's
pain.
just Newcastle
Super
girls in
strength,
general,
no,
isn't
super
it?
strength.
And super strength.
I won't even, like have you ever seen that video where there's the Scouse Doorman talking about where they all get ragged over by the little cough kid?
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah.
So funny. Like, honestly, like, I've had like one like that where there was about 4 or 5 who were trying to keep this. It was gone nuts. And we're just like, what? Like, you know, we're all like 18, 19, 20 odds. Just like throwing we're all about, you know. I'm like, what the hell? It's about 13 stone, you know. Like, you know, just couldn't keep him pinned down. So I have seen that sort of stuff.
What do you reckon he was on?
I don't know, mate. You'd have to ask him. Like,
What was it? One of the other guys, was it Speedballs or something? Where they got the cocaine energy and then the heroin, like dampens the pain. You don't feel any pain or something.
I tell you what, like, I had trouble with a kid on that CK or something.
Yeah, coke and ketamine.
Aye. Calvin Klein they call it or something. Like, it's like I don't know. He was just going ballistic. You know what I mean? And
I mean, you know,
and he'd get like punch knocked down. He had a big hole in his face. He kept coming up and tried to smash all the bar's windows.
How many times it was crazy, are you working and you'll just come across commodities of just narcotics? You know, is it you know, in your toilets, and are you constantly finding drugs all the time? And
well, I don't know. Did you hear about the whole Diamond Strip shutdown thing, the big investigation thing? So, like, obviously, bars are very, very on the ball with that now, because there was an incident where, like, 6 of the biggest nightclubs in Newcastle just got shut overnight a few years ago, and that had the whole town, like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Do you know, like, and basically, see, I'd had loads of people coming up and asking me, where can you get cocaine? And, like, asking, like, to get cocaine off me, but they just didn't fit, you know what I mean? I was like, you're not really? Do you know, like, not that you're, like, ever, like, I've got nothing to do with that anyway, but I was like, you know, and then all of a sudden, right, there was this just big thing. It was all over the news, and, like, 6 bars were shut down, and they'd had an undercover operation for several months, and about 30 people got prison over that.
So what did the undercover look like?
Well, from what I heard, it was like a lot of it was a lad and a lass going into a venue in on Collingwood Street, and they were, like, obviously, like, procuring drugs and stuff like that. But you know, like, what happened with that whole thing is they've done a lot of people for conspiracy. So a lot of promoters and stuff for these nightclubs were saying, oh, he sells the coke, and they were, like, giving these coppers the numbers, so they didn't really have nothing to do with it, and they got the same sentence as all the drug dealers. Like, when I was doing that, like, let's just say a couple of doing people favours and knocking on doors for money, got into things, and that was me probably closest call for, like, getting...
What kind of things did you see during that then? Was it all above board, can't you say, or was it some scary things you see?
I'll just say that, like,
grey area.
There was a setup once, and someone walked into places, and, like, about 10 kids with knives come out. Do you know what I mean? And I don't really want to say what I said in the situation. I had to bluff it a bit, and then it went on for minutes, the situation, but there was, like, a blue lighter going off down the street, and loads of these kids ran up the street for that. That probably potentially saved my life. Do you know what I mean?
So over lockdown, I come across your channel.
That's why I started off, just boredom, really.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
Obviously, I could tell you're a bit of a boxer, local lad, and you were. I watched you quite a lot because you come across really well. You're professional. You don't go into some of the silly nonsense that a lot of people do. What's it been like because you've had some good guests on. He's had
Antonio Tova.
Have you really? I didn't see that one, but I know you've had Danny Christie, Paul Venice, Junior Witter.
I just see it as a bit banter. I don't take it too serious. You know what I mean? But, like, do you know what? Like, it's sort of
therapeutic.
It's great that through that I've come on to something like this, which I've always enjoyed watching. But
because he's actually done a few documentaries, like
just little, like, ones on me,
like some massive views on them.
Aye. But I suppose probably a thing about it is the YouTube channel. I don't know if any of yous have been burgled before.
Hacked.
Like, burgled as in, like, your house burgled.
I seen your videos, what you put on.
Aye.
What was the story with that then?
Well, I come back from work one night, obviously when you're on the doors, you're out late, so
Do you think they knew you were at work?
Inside
most
job.
likely.
Yeah.
So I come back and I'd been absolutely ransacked.
Boxing trophies and everything.
Thankfully, I had a Rolex in my drawer, and he never found that. Do you know what I mean? Because I would have I didn't have contents insurance.
Wasn't the twins, was it? Wasn't the twins?
No, it wasn't them. So I started ranting and raving about it on YouTube, and people in the area were telling us things because of the YouTube. And I had boxing trophies found out, so I was following all the leads up, and I ended up finding out that some bloke who was 40 odd was showing me boxing trophies to young children in his house, saying he's a boxer and all that. So I went to his door, I put it all on YouTube as well. I just says, yeah mate, I know you've pinched me stuff, right? Are you going to sort us out, or how's this going to sort of go?
So for what purpose was he showing children your boxing trophies?
Apparently he's just a bit of a knacker, really, you know what I mean? It's the same with the other situation. I couldn't explain why some people go on the way they do. But
so you filmed yourself at his door?
Aye.
Yes.
I see his here, mate, you got properly outed and named and shamed and that.
Did he admit it?
Well, he hasn't admitted it, but what happened is I got loads of witness testimony about it and everything, right? And then what you call it, me bin was missing. Do you know, sort of really, I'd just got a new one.
Yep.
So I was thinking, because he's pinched that much stuff, because I was I know he's had some sort of help. He's hid a load of my stuff in a wheelie bin and took it around his. So I went outside his, right? There was a massive, there was a brand new wheelie bin, because I'd only had it 2 months, outside his, overflowing. Looked in, my boxing trophies were in, his letters were in, bits of my stuff he'd obviously not wanted were in. So I filmed all of that, and got him banged to rights. And through this, right,
Were you able to show this video?
Yeah, can we put that on?
I don't mind. Go ahead and do it, mate. You know what I
That'd
mean?
be brilliant.
Wow.
I hid it on that TikTok, and I got a couple of 100,000 views. I just made a TikTok for that.
You did it very kind of professional. There was no thuggish. There was
No
no
threats or anything like that.
It was just to the point. It was a fact, and I kind of briefly. I understood the story, but I remember you telling me.
What was his reaction when you turned up?
I think he went in the house and locked it and did a steal your stuff, right? But obviously, as this went on, I mean, burglars generally are serial offenders, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he'd done a lot of people, so he was on that sickness benefits or whatever, but he was meant to be he'd done a few bits and bobs and burgling people. So the one bit of possession what he had was his shed and his motorbike, what he got from his pay being backdated, and somebody who believed that he'd burgled them as well burnt his shed down with his motorbike in. So he was financially hit. Not, I don't.
So how
know.
did you gain anything back? Were you or you just?
I just got my trophies back through the bin.
One of life's lessons, and you just put it down to experience.
Was that the first visit you took the bin?
No, because I was ranting about it for a few weeks. Do you know what I mean? And it was a little bit back and forth and that. You know what I mean?
So your channel, what are you going to do for the future? Just making gains. Sean's going to put the links in the video, aren't you?
I've got a few plans. You know what I mean?
Where does the name come from?
Just because I like bodybuilding at the time. I was banging. Have you ever had Dorian Yates on your show?
I think we spoke to him, but he's got a situation pending.
Has he? So I was at the time, I was training all the time, and I was just putting a few training videos up, and it just spiraled. I wasn't really meant to make a proper channel out of it. It was just trying a few training videos up and that.
So I'm still curious about the burglary.
In fact, right, I can't remember what the newspaper is. Funny enough, they got in touch with me ma. There was some newspaper wanted to cover it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't it wasn't like a local one. It was like a proper intellectual it wasn't like a tabloid. It was like
Independent.
It wasn't the Independent. I can't remember what it was.
Guardian.
No, it wasn't the Guardian. It wasn't like the main ones, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but you'd be amazed what papers social media and put stories in.
Apparently, the angle they wanted to come at it with was something like the way the police handle it or stuff like that. And they think it escalates because the police aren't like on top of it enough or something. You know what I mean? I didn't go to the
one guy...
You didn't go to the police?
No,
One guy...
No, I didn't... I did initially go to the police before I'd found out who it was. Right? But, like, when I found out who it was, I was like, are you going to sort us? And I just sort of, like, shamed him on socials and that rather than... Because, like, I couldn't be bothered, like, fully go down that.
What did he look like then?
He just looked like a bit of a drug abuser, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what one?
So you went there the first time. Then, how long were you at the door with him on that occasion?
I was probably like I banged at his door. He wasn't in, and then he see me banging on his door, and he was like, "Oh," and then he went in, just quickly locked the door, and then like I stayed out for a while, longer than I put on video. But I was like, this is getting nowhere, is it? You know.
You said he wasn't in, but he locked his door. He came back.
I saw he was out when I was knocking on his door because I'd been waiting at his door.
Yeah.
And then he walked like past me. He was like, oh, like what's happening? I see he's like, yeah, I've come for my stuff back. You know what I mean?
Did he recognise you?
I don't know. I think like he obviously like as soon as I said I want me stuff, I think I says I'm here for my stuff. And he went, what stuff? I says, all the stuff you've stole off me. And he's like, I've stolen nothing off you. And he like just scuttled in and locked his door basically.
So he locked his door and he went inside. And were you thinking at that point, I need to get in somehow to see if he's got the stuff before he hides it or throws it away?
You know what it is, Reece? I'd said, listen, just get me stuff, right? And we'll just drop it. Do you know what I mean? And you can bung us a few quid and all for like the damage you've done. Do you know what I mean? So he wasn't going down that route, and like I did like bring the busies to just because literally if I do anything wrong I lose me like job.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So I rang the busies like, look at I know who's done it. I've got proof. I've got witnesses. Reed, can you go in and get me stuff? And personally I didn't think they were very interested in the whole thing.
What did they say to you?
They were just like, don't go and confront him. I'm like, well, I'm gonna confront him. Then they just basically just didn't. They were just completely non-responsive. So then, what happened is like over time and the whole thing, he got ran out of the property. He'd been there a couple of years, but he got like completely ran out of the property because all his windows got put out, his like shed got burned, and all that by obviously various people in the area who were unhappy with what he was doing or what they believed he was doing.
How long was it after the first visit that you went back and found your stuff in his bin?
I want to say a week and a half or something.
Week and a half. Were you worried during that period of time that he would hide the evidence?
I thought he would have got rid of everything. I actually had one of my friends shared a back lane with him.
Yeah.
Like, or one of me and a couple of like YouTube spies would have had, you know, people I'd met off that, you know, all my new connections and friends. Like I was getting pulled about it through North Shields all the time. Oh, I hope you get that fucker.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to return that day?
To get the bin?
Yeah.
It was literally just because I was stewing on it constantly, you know, like I just like the, you know what I mean. You know, I was going.
Was it a lot of stuff that you got stolen?
A few grand's worth, and then literally, I got a brand new telly. I never even got the chance to watch it. Do you know what I mean? I had to get two massive tellies, you know, because I bought one, then he pinched it straight away. But no, I was stewing on it, and I was like, yeah, you know, because I went to hide my bins out, and I was like, I flew at my mother's house. I was like, I was rattling on about it. I was like. And then I come to the conclusion, he's took my, because, you know, I was kicking off about my bin going missing as well. I was like, he's used my bin to take off my stuff away. So I was ringing people, I was going, is there an extra bin in that back lane? And they were like, aye, there is. It's overflow. So he's obviously trying to get rid of all my stuff, you know, like what could incriminate him. And that's when I went round and got it, and I filmed it all and took all my stuff. And there was letters to him and like, my boxing trophies and all that sort of stuff in. You know what I mean?
That's fucking.
I'm gonna have to watch this video.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So was there a whole series of videos then every time you went back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
What's it on
full
you?
story is covered on it.
Wow.
We have to, yeah.
There needs to be more people like you going out and confronting these people. You know,
Police
you're
can
not
do nothing
violent
about
or-
it. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know.
I mean, like, I think that they just like knew it's to just go for like the sort of easy targets, the police, because I think it's like a arrest to conviction sort of score-based system, and like if a burglar knows what they're doing, the chances are that they're not going to get like convicted. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's a lot of like police resources and time to like convict somebody for doing that. You know what I mean?
So have you ever been in trouble with the police?
No, nothing like nothing significant, like, because obviously you have to be like have a no criminal record.
6 years clean, isn't it?
Aye.
And if the three main ones you'll never get him is drugs, sex offences and racism. I think if you've got them, then it's game over. Do you know what I mean?
So earlier on, you mentioned the gang with the knives and stuff. How often have people pulled knives on you?
I've had that on the doors as well. I've had that like on the doors, like. But to be fair, in the situation where I had the knife pulled on us, I'd hide the kid at the bar, right, dragged him out because he was working the cell, and then he pulled a knife out and he was going walkies. He's going, come on, walkies, you know, with a knife. I see his mate. I says, you didn't even want to use that, because I says you would have used it on us when I was dragging you out the bar if you had the arse to use it. You know what I mean? And like he just, that situation, I never believed that like, he was actually going to use it. But still, you don't know, because the incident where I was talking about where somebody got proper stabbed clean up, that was just like they both looked like a pair of like cowards who didn't actually want to fight. You know what I mean?
Is knife culture a big thing in Newcastle?
I think it's getting worse. Like,
Is it?
getting a lot worse. Like, aye.
Have you ever been scared in the job?
Get like butterflies and a bit nervous and stuff. Why, aye, definitely.
When
Yeah.
was the last time?
Like it happens like any time you have a serious confrontation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
You said you did all the fighting as well. Starting out the fighting, was that a natural thing for you, or did you get some butterflies then?
Every time I had a last sanctioned fight I had was in February. Every time I get in the ring and box, I get nervous. Every single time. I mean, I've been in with like a lot of names, like, you know, Jimmy McCrory. You know him, like bare knuckle doing the vice thing on him. I beat him.
Was it Lads Babel or something? He was involved with something that literally went viral.
Vice.
So it was like millions.
Why?
He's Gary Fairby's fought him. He's from Newcastle, but he's...
He is, yeah. And every single time I box, I get like really nervous. Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
I've got no plans to compete again, but like my last time I competed was only 3 months ago or something.
And what happened there?
I won.
Good. How did you get into boxing?
I just love the sport, you know, like just used to love watching it. In fact, I think I was watching The Contender with Sylvester Stallone, and then I was just addicted after that.
How old are you?
About 12 or something.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we were talking this morning about you've had a bit of dealings with Eddie Elwood, which is 5-time Mr. Universe. Now the guy...
Well, that's the guy, not Dorian, it was this guy that we talked to.
Yeah, so at the minute,
Eddie.
he's signed to... do you know I made a film a couple of years back, Too Far Too Soon with Lee Duffy? So Eddie is doing his exclusive biography film with Paul Suggett, and I think it's going to go on Netflix and all that, but he is an absolute gentleman. He's like... You know, probably had a little bit of a naughty past, but he's been a boxer. He fought Richie Horsley.
Fought Manny Burgo.
Did he really?
Fought Manny Burgo,
And
Vulture highly recommended Eddie.
So he's kind of he's done things in the northeast the right way. You know, he's used his brain, and I mean he would be one hell of a guest. But obviously he's got his film coming out at the minute. But
so when you kick people out, then how often is it they're like, I'm going to come back and kill you with a weapon? Did they say that to you?
Like, you always hear that, but it's not always that, like, you feel like that it's going to happen, but, like, there is times where, like, it can carry on, like.
And you're worried then about a car driving past, shooting at you?
Sometimes you get a bit paranoid. I mean, I remember the night that happened in the town. I wasn't, like, involved, but I just remember I know the kid. I was working with him the other night, the kid who got shot but like at Tub Tub Palace. But it was like on the like police radio, you just hear like, oh, kids just being shot at Tub Tub, you know, like on the pub watch radio thing, like. Do you know what I mean?
What happened there?
Just there was like a little bit of a feud going on, and
it was massive in Newcastle. It's been in all the papers. Certain well-known family members.
There was a big case around it and all that.
So how often did the police turn up for backup?
Oh, I mean, if something really big kicks off, then pretty much always show up, but it's whether they show up on time. Do you know what I mean?
How long do you say?
It just depends, but like you have to also say that them sometimes if they're like going on about like, oh, if someone's coming at you like a maniac, and like you say, you've had knives pulled on, you've had this, you've had that, you're like, well, am I just supposed to like wait and be polite with this person till you show up? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes when you have to like literally as a last resort defend yourself.
Do you feel they cut you short because of your job?
I think that a lot of police have it in for us.
I mean, you're 30 now, so can you see yourself stood in the doors in Newcastle at 65?
Never say never. I hope not, though.
Yeah, but it serves you well, doesn't it? It does give you a decent living.
I was going to say, you must have some really happy times. We're talking all doom and gloom.
You meet a lot of characters, a lot of interesting people.
Oh no, like I had loads of laughs. I mean, it's like loads and loads of funny times and great times in the doors. Yeah.
What's your funniest moment?
I don't know. I've got loads. I don't want to. I think I'll sound bad saying this one as a funny one, right?
You found it humorous. There we go.
Well, I did and I didn't. It was really funny, but I also feel really bad about it as well. So, like, I was at the bar and there was someone like being a bit disgusting. Really, they were going around, and that must have been like sniffing or something, and they were like blowing the nose, and just blood was going on people's tops and stuff.
Oh,
right. And some lass come out crying, but like about three, he was doing it deliberately, this kid. So I ended up finding out who it was. And he was just like really smug about the kid. And I was like, you little... So I hired him and his mate out the back. And this massive bloke come out, you know, like rough looking bloke. And this is what I feel bad about as well. But it's just one of these mad coincidences. So he come out and he goes... He's going, apparently someone's been blowing the nose. He's going, you seen this? Back of me Ralph Lauren shirt and all that. And I went, aye, mate. I've chucked him out. He goes, what's he look like? I see as he's got a white T-shirt, blue jeans, white trainers. His mate's got black jeans. He's got a blue cap, blue T-shirt. And he goes, is that them up there? And there was like two kids walking in the distance. And I see his... Aye, I think that's them, mate, aye. So he runs up like a madman. The two kids who've done it just come down the lane, don't they? And I was like, oh no, you know what I mean? So he went and scudded him all over. I went up and tried to stop him. This bloke does these kids clean all and then runs off. And the bloke's just like, you know, like I sound bad, but I was like wanting to laugh, but at the same time I felt terrible, you know what I mean? And the bloke was just saying to us, oh, you seen that? He's gone, he just attacked us for nothing. And I was just like, oh, no, mate, you know what I mean? I was like, I think I deserve one as well, like, but, you know.
Has there been situations where doormen have messed up and got seriously damaged?
What, like the doorman getting hurt and stuff?
Yeah, they made a mistake.
How do you mean, like, as in, like...
Maybe they were, like, new to it or something and they made a...
It wasn't a job for them.
Do you know what it is? Like, I think, like, a lot of the time, new and inexperienced doorman, it's not so much themselves getting hurt, it's like that they get other people hurt. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, say, they'll, like, not notice a situation and de-escalate it, so it'll escalate, and then they maybe won't have the confidence to step in and get involved. Do you know what I mean? Once, and then, so then they'll sort of come off scot-free, but then, like, you know, maybe other doormen or customers will end up getting hurt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you met cocky bouncers?
Yeah. Oh, loads of, like, bullies and cocky people and loads of, like, bullies. And it does give most doormen, which it is most doormen who are sound, a bad name. It does, aye.
And how would you interact with them?
I mean, it's one of these. If you're working with a doorman and they have started an argument with a group of customers and they have been funny, right? You can't really say anything to them about it then and there because you have to kind of have the back. But then afterwards, I would sort of say, like, yeah, mate, that was a little bit uncalled for, like, you know what I mean?
So we've heard loads of stories about Manchester doorman wars and Liverpool doorman wars. Does Newcastle have doorman wars?
Well, I think it's getting into that at the minute. It's the most edgy it's been in about, like, all the lads who've been doing it for years have said it's the most edgy it's been since sort of Viv Graham's era. There's a lot of stuff going on at the minute, but I don't really want to, like, get into it because it's ongoing. And I wouldn't want to say anything on here that's going to, like, spice things up.
Did you watch the video of Viv Graham going into
Stewie Watson, and the hobos thing.
Yeah,
Awful that was.
Aye.
And Stu stood his ground, didn't he? He didn't get knocked out.
Aye.
Yeah, shout out to Stu.
Stu was obviously, like, has a name of his own right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he doesn't back down to anyone, so...
Yeah.
Aye.
Wonderful guy.
Sound bloke, aye. Yeah.
So all the links will be in the description box. Making Gains YouTube channel if you want to go and watch the footage of the piece of shit burglar and the to in and froing for a couple of weeks there. The shame outing, the shaming.
Did you get all of your trophies back?
I just the ones that
some of them are broke, aren't they?
Aye. They were a bit broke though. The hands are broke off and that.
Oh good.
Piece of shit.
No, it's gone my mind. It's slipped.
Got mine fart.
Yeah,
we've all been there. Oh, Raoul Moat.
We did some Raoul Moat.
we did.
Yeah. Probably wraps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
So what are you doing these days, anyway?
Just the same old, like, you know what I mean? Just I'm on Sean Atwood today. Just loving life, you know what I mean?
What is life like? Do you have a missus?
No. I don't trust women anymore.
Stays away from twins, especially twins.
Oh, that's a shame.
Not ones you meet in town, anyways.
No. So you haven't got any plans for boxing coming up?
No. Just do my YouTube. I've got a few plans, but, like, I'll show them as things unravel.
Yeah, well, as I said, the one thing, and it always stuck with me. Even the wife, she's never met him, and she was like, "He's alright, Jamie, isn't she?"
Yeah, seems so.
Do you know, he puts himself across. It's like the scumbag who bailed him. He could have reacted badly, and he probably would have wanted to, but he puts himself across very well, and that's what kind of stood out for me. And I started watching him. But obviously, you know, you're going to start and get more and more of the
So you can really pursue the YouTube.
Because he's good at it. Some people are natural and, you know, he can talk well, and some people aren't, and he is. But he's one of them, he refuses to go down where ripping people apart and all that. He has a bit of class.
That's the class thing, we stay away from that.
I was listening to an advert earlier on Spotify. It's like, if you can talk, you can podcast.
Yeah. Aye.
Yeah.
Well, that's the future, isn't it? Because everyone's losing their jobs now. With machines and that, like, will anyone, if you're not a podcaster in 20 years time,
I mean, to be honest, do people apart from the odd boxing and football, I don't watch television, and nobody does.
No,
only my parents do.
Yeah.
It's the only time I see it when I go through their house to get the BBC.
You know, it's the older generation.
Yeah.
Even Jeremy Carl's all gone. Trisha's all gone. Kilroy's all gone. A lot of people these days, it's just interaction with.
It's the new age media.
Of course it is, yeah.
Yes, of
You
course.
know, so you can literally choose what you want. You know, and he's obviously puts himself across well, and I think he can build up a little fan base himself.
Well, I can't wait to watch the videos.
100%, aye.
So if you enjoy watching this, go down and click on Making Gains and subscribe and check out his stuff. Huge thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, scared, man. Is that kind of right, mate? Is that all right?
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're good.
Appreciate it.
You got a very powerful present.
Is this yours, mate? Are you hungry, Si? Get me stuff, mate.
What stuff?
What you pinched from me?
Pinched out from
Aye.
you?
Aye, you did, mate. The coppers are coming round now. Get me stuff.
Pinched nothing
Aye, you
from
have,
you?
mate. Aye. It's going on YouTube, this, mate. Your face and everything. Aye, you have, mate. You've been seeing with me boxing gloves, man. Get me stuff now. There. Right, me pals round the back, mate. So anything you try and chuck out there. The coppers are coming round this minute. Get me stuff in the time. He's I got told earlier today of someone who's been on to him, and like I say, he seen him with a pair of boxing gloves out the back. So I sent him, and the text can go on screen here now. I says, they're not these sort of boxing gloves, are they? And he says, aye, that's them, don't dare say they're yours. And sure enough, right? Right, so I've just been round my mother's house. And as mothers do, she's mentioned about taking me bins out. And I mentioned how it's been missing the last few weeks. And she says, is it not possible this scumbag who's burgled you has stole your bin as well to wheel all your stuff away? And I was like, you know what? That just might be what he's done. So I've rang one of my neighbours who shares a back lane with him. And there's a new bin in the street, because my mother bought that bin for me in November just gone when I was away in Scotland. So there's apparently a brand new bin in the street, in the back lane, and it's full to the brim with stuff, and there's like tracksuit bottoms and stuff hanging out the back. Walking up now to this back lane, which is suspect number one's back lane as well, by the way, to this where the bin is. And I'll recognise if it's my bin. Like I say, it's a brand new one. And we'll see if these tracksuit bottoms are mine, or if there's anything else of mine there. This is the bin in question, yeah. Look at all this sticking out. As you can see, brand new bin. Right, so it's full of clothes and all the rest of it. Right, so like I say, definitely brand new bin. I've filmed where I've got it from. I recognise a couple of things already. I'm gonna have a look through at everything else, but the police rang me the other day saying that they'd been in, looked in his house and hadn't found out. Now I think they've either rang him up and asked him to go in his house, or he's invited them in. I don't think they've went with a warrant, so he's been given ample opportunity to get rid of all my stuff. And what he's done, he's chucked it all in my bin and stuck it in his back lane. And it's just as well I found it tonight, because it's bins night. So I'll let you know what exactly I found. Right, so looking at all this stuff here. What's in this bin? It's my bin, I know that. Let's see if there's any of my stuff in there. Well, that's definitely, it's from a spoonhead box that I've used. I'm have to be careful here in case there's needles about or anything like that. Well, someone's been on the fucking rob, pinching these things here. What the fuck? You know what I mean? You know that this is some sort of thief when you're finding shit like this. Right, so look at this. Down in this bin, what have we found here? Look at that. What we found there. Ah, you idiot. This, I got this working up in Scotland, right? Like I say, it's not all my stuff, what's been stolen, but A lot of it is. This is an old pair. Oh no, it's not mine. They're not mine. I thought they were, because you know, there's other people's stuff too. I have to be careful here, because when I put some gloves on, in fact I'm just going to fucking tip this up. Have to tidy up in a bit. I think that's another trophy there. Another one of my trophies. 2 trophies what was stolen. You know what I mean? They now don't have hands. But, like I said, more evidence against this scumbag Raoul Moat burglar who's robbing houses.
I am.
Well, what a shame, eh? You know, but what goes around comes around, doesn't it?
Here at Boomer & Jen, we offer a wide range of organic or recycled clothing. We all know our planet is important. We only have this one, so it's vital that we all work together to slow down and reverse the changes to the environment. Whilst we all know that big industry are having a significant effect on pollution, here at Boomer & Jen, we believe that if we all make small changes, we can do our part. Fast fashion causes detrimental effects to the planet. Not only is nearly 20% of global wastewater produced by the fast fashion industry, but there is a considerable amount of fast fashion ending up in landfill. So let's move away from fast fashion items that are only worn once or twice and start wearing extremely comfortable, durable and environmentally friendly clothing and ethical jewellery. Boomer & Jen was founded in a quiet town in Devon in 2018. It has now gone from strength to strength as the world is becoming more aware of the current climate situation, helping our customers to buy sustainable, quality clothing. All of our products are fair trade and registered with the Global Organic Textiles Standard Association. Check us out on organiccottonclothing.co.uk.